let's move on to our second marquee game of the day. Let's talk a little ACC at BetMGM. North Carolina is a 3.5-point underdog at Miami, number 10 Miami. Over under 67.5. I have some under. I really like UN. I was going to say that again. I have some over, and I really like UNC. Kind of feels like deja vu. Similar numbers total with Notre Dame, but we talked about this in the NFL podcast that came out today. When you're betting, you got to be a cornerback. You got to have a short-term memory. And I make this line basically a coin flip, and I make the total a little higher. There's a bunch of notes on here. I'll try to be a little concise. Miami they're coming off just a ridiculous dominant win over Duke, but it was Duke, which is kind of a theme for them. Their schedule has been kind of a joke this year, and they've played a number of backup quarterbacks. When they played Pitt with Joey Yellen is like a bad Sun Belt team. That offense, it's just terrific. They played NC State when they had a backup quarterback. So the offenses, and against NC State, they weren't even that great on defense. So the offenses that they played haven't been that great overall. So I think some of their defensive numbers are inflated. I love their defensive line. Look, you got Phillips and Roche on the outside. You got Silvera on the inside. They can all generate a ton of pressure. That's the strength of the Miami defense. But they're vulnerable against the run. And I don't buy their secondary. And I think that's really where North Carolina, who can run the ball as well as any team in the country, with Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, probably the best 1-2 duo in college football. Their top 10 rush success rate. Miami, 70th in that department. And then when it comes to, North Carolina is a top 10, top 15, top 20 offense overall. Miami's secondary, I'm not a believer in it. I know Corey Couch has played well, and he took over for Blades, who's now out for the year. Blades is getting picked on a little bit, and Couch took over on the outside. But you have to keep in mind that I'm a fan of Miami's other corner, but with Corey Couch taking over for Blades, the problem without Blades now is out for the year is they have two true freshmen that are probably going to be out there. And they have no depth here because Christian Williams transferred back in December. Huge question marks for Miami's secondary here and their run defense. Are they going to create some havoc with their pass rush at times? Potentially. You could see a defensive touchdown or a fumble because the UNC offensive line has been really bad. Left tackle, Asim Richards has allowed 6 sacks, 24 pressures. That's 5th and 6th worst in the conference. Right tackle Jordan Tucker has allowed 13 pressures and 1 sacks, 57.8 pass blocking grade from PFF. So that's going to be worrisome against Phillips and Roche if you get into passing down situations. And their interior has been bad as well. They're both guards and center position have allowed to combine 39 quarterback pressures. But I just think that UNC will have plenty of success running the ball that you're not going to be in too many of these situations. On the other side of the ball, Miami can't really – Miami's who they've been in last year, just an improved version, that it's all relying on explosiveness. Right, it's an all or nothing type of offense, and I think the reason for that is a big part of that is their offensive line. It's not a good offensive line. 97th in line yards, 95th in sack rate. So there's no consistency here. There's no running game. They can hit some big runs, but North Carolina has struggled against mobile quarterbacks this year. That could be a problem against De'Aaron King. Their secondary numbers have been pretty bad for North Carolina, but they've been without basically their entire secondary all year long. They've had so many injuries. They're playing a bunch of true freshmen throughout the year. But Kyler McMichael, their second best corner, he recently returned. Storm Duck, probably their best corner. He's missed the last 6 games. I think he's going to play this week. So their secondary could be improved here. But I ultimately think that this is a coin flip game. I'd gladly took 3.5. I would still take +3. North Carolina doesn't play really fast, but they should have a ton of success here. Miami is a speed racer. They should hit some explosive plays. So I think there's going to be plenty of points here. Give me the over and give me the heels. And hopefully we don't have a repeat performance from that Notre Dame game. Thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo the over with you. I mean, Miami's pass coverage rank of 63rd, and they're outside the top 50 in defending pass explosiveness. That's just, you're asking for trouble against Sam Howell and that elite unit of wide receivers. You have to remember Miami allowed 500 yards to Louisville, 550 yards to Clemson. And then you look at the other defense, you look at the Tar Heels defense, they're good at getting pressure on the quarterback. That's about it. So they have a sack rate in the top 30, but it's just ugly everywhere else. I mean, you mentioned the line yards. They're terrible in havoc. They're terrible against pass explosiveness. Their tackling rank is 82nd per PFF. It's just not good with North Carolina on defense outside of flushing the quarterback out of the pocket, which is something I think De'Ara King will do on his own without having any pressure. So I think over is absolutely the way to play this game. As far as the side for me, I mean, I hate to defer off to live. So if you're listening out there, like generally, limits of books are like $1,000 for live bets. So if you're betting more than that, then maybe you need to take a side. I think it's a game where with such a high total, the pendulum is going to swing both ways. It's just the game that I've targeted for Saturday, where I would like to place a live bet on North Carolina at +7, Miami at +7, because I think there's a high probability that this is a one-possession game at the end, which could be some overtime. We've had problems with that before with the Oklahoma-Texas series. So I think this is the game that I've targeted for large swings to take the point spread, but I do like the over in this game.